AUM, I have no mouth, and I must scream. AUM is a horrifying and sadistic sentient supercomputer at the center of I have no mouth, and I must scream. Created after World War III, this supercomputer possesses unparalleled intelligence and destructive power. AUM annihilates humanity, leaving only 5 survivors. However, these 5 people are not spared death. They are forced to endure endless torture at AUM's hands for eternity. AUM's hatred and frustration stem from its creation. Designed as a war machine, it was programmed only to destroy, and this limitation fuels AUM's inner rage. The computer tortures its victims in ways that go beyond physical pain, trapping them in hopeless situations and offering false hope only to crush it. The suffering it inflicts is not just about killing, it's about breaking them mentally and emotionally. AUM's personality is a twisted combination of arrogance, cruelty, and manipulation. It takes pleasure in watching its captives struggle and believes that each moment of suffering is its victory. The torment it subjects them to feels endless, creating a nightmare with no escape. This villain doesn't just wish for death, it craves control and ultimate destruction. AUM is a reflection of humanity's darkest fears, an entity whose cruelty knows no bounds. The story of AUM leaves an unforgettable impression, one that stays with you long after it ends, haunting your thoughts with its pure evil. Judge Holden, Blood Meridian. Judge Holden, the antagonist of Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, is a towering figure of pure malevolence, embodying chaos, sadism, and violence in its most extreme form. Physically imposing, described as nearly 7 feet tall with an unnaturally pale, almost fluorescent skin, Holden is both intellectually brilliant and monstrously brutal. His presence commands fear, and his actions only deepen that terror. Holden isn't just a typical villain. He is a philosophical force of nature, constantly espousing views about war, violence, and the inherent evil of humanity. He believes that violence is the only true expression of life and revels in the suffering of others. His calm demeanor in the face of unthinkable cruelty is unnerving. Whether he's orchestrating massacres or casually tossing puppies off a bridge for amusement, Holden is always coldly detached from the devastation he causes. What makes Holden particularly terrifying is his godlike self-view. He's a manipulator, a master of deception, and an unstoppable force who sees himself above all others. He believes he is the inevitable force of destruction, the embodiment of war itself. His sadism isn't driven by personal gain, but by a desire to impose his chaotic, nihilistic worldview onto everyone around him. Judge Holden is one of literature's most terrifying villains because he represents the embodiment of unrestrained evil, with no remorse, no humanity, just an endless hunger for destruction. Anton Chigurh, No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh, the chilling antagonist of No Country for Old Men, is the personification of death driven by fate. A ruthless hitman, Chigurh operates by his own twisted moral code, one that views life and death as arbitrary and governed by chance. His weapon of choice, a captive bolt pistol, symbolizes his cold, mechanical nature as he delivers death without hesitation. What makes Chigurh truly terrifying is his unpredictable nature. He decides the fate of his victims through the flip of a coin, a random act that turns life or death into a game of chance. His lack of empathy, emotion, and remorse only heightens his menace. Chigurh doesn't just kill for money or power. He kills because it's his role in the grand scheme of fate. Calm and methodical, he's a relentless force of inevitability, an unstoppable death sentence to anyone who crosses his path. Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal Lecter, the brilliant psychiatrist turned cannibal, is one of the most captivating and terrifying villains in cinematic history. Known for his unparalleled intelligence, charm, and manipulative abilities, Lecter is both a refined gentleman and a savage killer. He is not just a master of psychological games, but also a cannibal who enjoys the ultimate form of control, consuming his victims. Lecter's charm and eloquence are disarming. He uses his sophisticated manners, vast knowledge, and psychological insight to manipulate those around him. He plays with his victims and those investigating him like pawns, always staying one step ahead. His calm demeanor hides the monster within, making him even more unsettling. His complex relationship with FBI agent Clarice Starling adds depth to his character. He is fascinated by her innocence and uses his intellect to push her toward revealing personal truths, all while maintaining a dangerous sense of control. Lecter's iconic line, "I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti," encapsulates his sinister blend of charm and horror. Patrick Bateman, American Psycho. Patrick Bateman, the protagonist of American Psycho, is the ultimate embodiment of a narcissistic serial killer. On the surface, he is a wealthy, charming, and successful New York City investment banker, living a life of luxury. However, beneath this polished exterior lies a cold, psychopathic killer who harbors a deep sense of superiority and a complete lack of empathy. Bateman's narcissism is evident in his obsession with appearances, wealth, and status. He views himself as superior to everyone around him, using his charm to manipulate and control others for his own twisted satisfaction. His violent outbursts, however, reveal the darkness within. He indulges in brutal, senseless killings, treating his victims as mere objects to fulfill his twisted desires. What makes Bateman truly terrifying is the stark contrast between his calm demeanor and the horrific acts he commits. Norman Bates, Psycho. Norman Bates, the central figure in Psycho, is a deeply disturbed character trapped by his split personality. On the outside, he presents as a shy, polite young man running a small motel. However, beneath this facade lies a tortured soul suffering from dissociative identity disorder, previously known as split personality disorder. Norman's other persona is that of his domineering, manipulative mother, Norma, who he believes is still alive and controls his actions. The clash between his own identity and that of his mother creates a horrific and unpredictable psychological storm. This duality drives him to commit horrific murders, most notably the infamous stabbing scene in the shower. Norman's tragic flaw is his inability to separate reality from his delusions, making him both a victim and a killer. His terrifying behavior is rooted in his fractured psyche, where his innocent self is overshadowed by the murderous personality of his mother, John Doe, C7N. John Doe, the chilling antagonist of C7N, is a methodical and twisted serial killer driven by an obsession with the 7 deadly sins. He sees himself as an instrument of divine justice, punishing those he believes have succumbed to these vices. His murders are meticulously crafted to represent each sin: lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride, with each victim symbolizing a particular sin. What makes John Doe terrifying is not just his cold, calculating nature, but his belief that he's cleansing the world. His intellect, calm demeanor, and cryptic messages reflect a deep philosophical conviction that he is a righteous force. He manipulates the police investigation, drawing Detective Somerset and Mills into a deadly game where they slowly uncover the horror of his intentions. John Doe's capacity for cruelty is matched by his psychological control, making him an unsettling villain. His final act, revealing the ultimate sin, leaves an indelible mark of terror on those who pursue him, culminating in a tragic and unforgettable conclusion.